1, 2.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Nautical Institute Iberia Branch 50th Anniversary Conference, our Jubilee Conference. 50 years ago, the Nautical Institute was created, and today we have reached 7,000 members worldwide and branches in many countries around the world. Today, we are having our Jubilee Conference, and I will pass you over to our branch chairman, Captain Joffrau.
Very much, Mark. I will give the floor to Dr.
Very Good morning. My name is José Ribeiro Castro. I'm the chairman of the Sociedade Histórica da Independência de Portugal, Portugal's Independent Historical Society, which is hosting your conference. And firstly, let me welcome you. We're very glad to host this conference, your Jubilee conference, in this palace. I salute first in the Captain John Lloyd, Captain André Le Goubin, Captain João Frade, John Fryer. The last Fryer I knew in English was Friar Chuck, the good friend of Robin Hood that made the joys and fantasies of my youth. And I'm sure Captain João Frade is as brave and high spirits as Friar Chuck was. I also greet in his absence Dr. Mário Ferreira, who will be the keynote speaker this morning. He became the Portuguese first astronaut, so I hope he will arrive soon in his spaceship to illuminate also our meeting. You are celebrating your 15th anniversary. We are a bit older. We were founded in 1861, so we made 161 years. And let me introduce, this was the palace where the rebellion that restored the Portuguese independence started back in the 1st December of 1640. And at the end of the room, you can find the portraits of two of the rebels, João Ribeiro on the left, and Antão Vaz de Almeida on the right. He was the owner of this palace, and the meetings took place here to prepare to chase the Spanish king and restore Portuguese king, who was that person in the middle, our King John IV, that started reigning in 1640. It took a bit long, because it was a long war, till the peace was established in 1668. We started in our society with this board, which I share, creating circles. And the circles is an idea of gathering people around the pillars of our national independence and our Portuguese identity. One of them is the sea. We owe a lot to the sea. Yesterday I commented to someone of you that there are two permanent references in the independence of our country. The British-Portuguese Alliance, which we are now celebrating 650 years. It was established in 1373 and then renovated and reinforced many times since then. We are very proud of that alliance. We call it the oldest alliance in the world between existing states. It still lasts today, and we had a chance to revive it during the ceremonies of burial of King Elizabeth II. And the other reference is the sea, which is present in all our history, and mostly since the discoveries. Our navy was created before the discoveries by King Denis. And this is a key element of our politics, of our economy, of our expansion in the world. If the Portuguese is spoken all over the world, it's because of the seas. It's because we navigate it. with that, with speaking Portuguese, and many people started speaking our language, our idiom around the world. So we owe a lot to it, and we must bring back the sea, its economy, its culture, its politics to the center of the arena of the political debate in our country. So it was it was an honor and a pleasure to welcome your meeting here. I think it's a strong push to the Circle of the Sea of our Historical Society, which is led by Captain Orlando Temes de Oliveira. Unfortunately, he can't not be here, but he worked a lot to the success of this meeting because he's under surgery today. But he was followed by Captain Monteiro Marques, who is here and took over the responsibility of representing us in today's meeting and other related events. So we are open. We are very glad to welcome you here, and come back as often as you wish. We'll be most glad to welcome you. And if some of your members Portuguese wanted to join our Circle of the Sea, please do it. We want Circle of the Sea to become the strongest tertulia around the sea. Tertulia is a group of friends that debate and talk about issues of common interests, and we need to reinforce that people from all areas of the sea, being it fishers, naval architecture, ports, whatever, of course, navigation, whatever, gather and debate the importance of the sector to our country and its future. I wish you a very good meeting and many successes in the 50 years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ferreira Castro. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great day for Iberian Branch, as you know, and for the Nautical Institute. We are here celebrating the 50 years of the creation of our institute. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone attending this conference today and join us through the internet. Welcome also. I will start from a safety brief. So it's easy to identify the doors in this room, but if you hear any alarm or any sound, the palace only have one alarm. But if you hear the alarm, please go to the doors, and the meeting point is outside in the car parking, okay? But nothing will happen, but just in case, okay? So this palace, I will proceed a little bit. Today, initially, the event was a big challenge. Sorry, try to resume here my speech. It's a big challenge for us, and it caused me a few more white hairs and all the Iberian branch, because in the beginning it was a big challenge try to organize this event today. But thanks all of you, the sponsors, the speakers, and all of you here present today to support us and to join us in this event. Any event such this can only be held and accepted by the audience if it is made up to the best specialists and well organized to attract participants. This is the case. And in our case, we also have the additional responsibility to preserve the name of the Nautical Institute. And we have here Captain John Lloyd, our CEO, and our President, Captain André Goban. Thank you for coming. However, everything becomes easy when we start to receive a positive response from our initial contacts with the select speakers. Some of them you will meet during the day. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be here. We know everyone continues to experience difficulties in their daily lives due to current events, and we know that to be here, we had to make an investment in time and money. So a big thank you to all the speakers to accept our invitation and agreeing with us to sharing your knowledge with our colleagues, friends, and our community, and also the members of the Sociedade Histórica da Independência de Portugal. At the same time, we started drafting the conference. We started contacts with the potential sponsors in the Iberian Peninsula to enable us to make this event good organized, well participated. And in fact, we're very surprised and grateful for the positive response received from the sponsors since the beginnings when we contact them. So without the sponsors, this will not be possible. We're not here today if they don't support us, and thank you very much for the sponsors to support us. I will also big thank from all participants to the sponsors to support us. As you can see in the promotion and the projection and our flyers, we have 3 goal sponsors. First Link GPS, and some members are joined with us, but Captain Lázaro Delgado was our contact person. MedTech, Sinch, Dr. Rui Cruz was our contact also, is also in the near you. And Misty Cruz, Captain Hugo Bastos is there, waiting for the Dr. Mário Ferreira. He's coming, so we will wait and no problem. We have also 3 silver local sponsors, Group Sousa, Captain Pedro Frazão, and a special thank you for help us to find the place, because you are the key element in this selection of this localization. Thank you very much for establishing the first contacts and allow us to come here. Lisnave, also a silver sponsor. Engineer Humberto Bandeira was our contact. He's not here, but some colleagues from Lisnave are here. And Portline Ocean, also a silver sponsor. Captain Jorge Fernandes was the contact person. He's also not here, but will come. PSL Navigação, Captain André Santos is here. Thank you. And Civenti, the owner of the boat and the dinner for the conference. Later on, we will have this social moment. The highest moment of this conference will be in the boat. We are a seamen, so we will go to the boat to have the dinner. And also the bronze local sponsors, we have the Colégio Nacional de Práticos de Portos, Captain Juan Pedro Morales. Thank you very much for also support us in this event. And the organizations, Dr. Ribeira Castro, thank you very much for allow us to celebrate here in your society. And also Clubes Oficiais da Marinha Mercante. Since the beginning, they are our partners in Lisbon, so for the com, really thank you for support us. I also want to thank to all the global sponsors who also contribute, and you can see the brand in the presentations, the realization of the 50th anniversary around the world. So in our conference, we have the participation of speakers from Standard Club. Thank you very much. And also Wartzilla. Thank you for coming. You also have some inserts from One Ocean inside your bag. Once again, the difficult times we are experiencing with the climate crisis, supply chain disruption, COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical instability, and the war in Ukraine. Many challenges in the global shipping industry, but for all the sponsors and the speakers who accept our request and join us in this event with the extra financial support, thank you very much. Another one. From our side, in Iberian branch, we will be with us forever. In the future events we will have, so we will take your name, your brand with us, and as support organizations in our local activities. I also want to thank to Nautical Institute and their support, the CEO, as I told Captain John Lloyd, thank you very much for your support, and Captain, the President, Captain Adel Goba, the effort to be here today, and the work done in support of all branches all over the world in this celebration. So thank you very much for your effort. The other colleagues we don't see here from the Nautical Institute, of course, Anna, Mike, and James. James is here supporting us, but all the colleagues we don't see, but they are working in Nautical Institute to keep this organization working. So the last thank you goes to the old colleagues and friends, many familiar faces participate in the event. You helped me to end me a kind of nightmare of the last days to thinking in this room empty. So today the room it's almost full, so the rest are coming, so they will come, so we will completely full. So it's a good moment for our memories in the future. Remember this room full of the colleagues and participants. So thank you very much for coming. So I will give the floor to the captain, the president, captain. Sorry. We will see a small video and we will change. Sorry, I forgot the video. Wait. Technical issues, it's all the time the same problem, so you already know. Oh. We will wait, but se calhar é o formato, mas isto é um formato. Okay, doesn't matter. The video tried to explain a little bit more about Nautical Institute, and of course it's a target for us and a main objective to try to increase the members of the Iberian branch in our area. We have almost 100 members in our branch, and we invite all of you to be part of us. Okay. Thank you. We'll see.
But it moved.
So, no problem.
Okay, then you have what you. Let's see. No. There's something with the format.
Okay, no problem. Abrir com media player. Okay, let's try another option. Open with the media player with the right button. No, we can go there. Sorry, we can go there. Right button. This. Já está. Abrir conta, aqui. Peraí. Vai lá com você. Media player. Okay. This is part of the conference, so it's a funny part. So.
Okay. There's no sound.
No sound. So try to solve the problem of the sound. Está a sair o som do projetor, se calhar deve ser para isto aqui, mas pode não.
Institute is a superb vehicle for ensuring professionals are able to keep up with their professional development. How else can you stay at the cutting edge?
Another great advantage of membership is the Seaways magazine, which contains many articles. It's published every month.
Okay, now.
Welcome to the Nautical Institute, the international body for maritime professionals. Helping our members to develop their knowledge and professionalism lies at the heart of what we do.
There's no doubt in my mind that my membership in the Nautical Institute has allowed me to grow as a mariner.
It helps you interact and network with other like-minded individuals all over the world.
Our industry is changing rapidly, and you are having to cope with new regulations, new technology, and evolving best practice.
You will actually have to link up or team up with a specific branch somewhere in the world, and they will give you feedback, their views. I think that just really adds to your professionalism, and it will basically be of great help.
Our website is the first port of call to learn more about us and the ways we can support you.
CPD Online is a program that enables maritime professionals to keep current, to keep up to date. The whole program is driven on templates that are downloadable from the website. So if you're at sea without internet access, you can download them and take them with you. They can be completed electronically or by hand. And all of the tools and guidance that you'll need to complete these templates and to follow the program through are provided online.
The Institute is a superb vehicle for ensuring professionals are able to keep up with their professional development. How else can you stay at the cutting edge?
Another great advantage of membership is the Seaways magazine, which contains many articles, is published every month, and has a large amount of information for members on all kinds of shipping and nautical activities.
We have the ability to communicate with each other, voice concerns, put that either on the internet, on the website, or through Seaways.
The Institute produces a great range of publications, and as a member, I receive 30% discount, which is just fantastic.
The Nautical Institute is about publishing best practice, and one of the ways that we do that is through our publications. They are written by seafarers or experts in their field for seafarers. So they're in seafarers' language. They're there to help you throughout your career as you rise through the ranks and perhaps as you come ashore and start a new discipline.
Go to our website at nautinst.org to find out more about the benefits of becoming a member. While you're there, explore the range of free resources, such as the reports submitted under our Mariners Alerting and Reporting Scheme. These confidential accounts of accidents and near misses are there to help us all stay safe, whether at sea or ashore. You'll also find out about the work we do to make our members' views known at key industry forums, including the UN's International Maritime Organization and IALA.
The Institute is at the forefront of making sure that the mariner's voice and the seafarer's voice is heard and given prominence.
I think it's really beneficial that the members' views are represented at key international forums such as the IMO, because it gives seafarers a voice.
Belonging to the Nautical Institute and Nautical Institute's philosophy of engaging with rather than disputing or debating, to constructively engage with similar bodies with a common aim of running a safe and efficient shipping. That has tremendous value to the sense of control that an individual member feels.
The Nautical Institute also offers accreditation services that support industry best practices. As a member of the Nautical Institute, you'll be entitled to use letters after your name, reflecting your professional status.
Having that experience, having those letters after my name, having the credibility of being a member of the Nautical Institute really helped me in my career.
It gave me an indication as an employer that the candidate was serious about the industry he was working in.
You'll also have access to a dedicated members area on our website that includes discounts on entry to leading industry events.
There is so much we can offer as a Nautical Institute. Our seminars, our conferences are absolutely top-notch.
I got the value of being a member of the Nautical Institute, particularly through networking. I needed to meet these people to advance my career.
Run by members for members, the Nautical Institute provides you with the ideal framework to support your professional role within the industry. Want to know more? Email us at member@nautinst.org or call us on 020 7928 1351. That's London, so dial country code 44 if calling from outside the UK. We'd love to hear from you.
We have a tendency, mariners do, to believe that our way, in our little part of the world, this must be the only way to do it. And of course, there's 1,000 ways to do it. And that broadening of our horizons, it's good for everybody. The Nautical Institute provides that platform.
It's a wonderful organization which has an outreach which is worldwide.
Without the Nautical Institute, I don't think I would be the mariner I am today.
As an international, independent and self-governing body, the Nautical Institute is here to serve you throughout your career as a maritime professional.
Okay, we will proceed, and the next speaker will be the president of the Nautical Institute, Captain André Goubin. It's the president of the Nautical Institute, master mariner, underway ship-to-ship mooring master, pilot and owner of DNA Maritime USA, offering experts, witness service, and consultancy to the maritime industry. Captain André Goubin is currently employed as a mooring master in the lightering trade, undertaking and underway ship-to-ship transfer of oil, offshore in the USA and South America, having decided to return to the sea in the summer of 2012, after over 8 years ashore working as a marine consultant in Houston, Texas. He immigrated from the UK to the USA in January 2004, leaving the London Pilotage Service, where he was the first-class maritime pilot. Before becoming a pilot, André was master of high-speed ferries, initially hydrofoils, then mono and multi-hull ro-ro passenger vessel. André's seagoing career formally, he left the school with almost 6 months sea time, became with Cunard Shipping Service, where he served as a deck officer in various ranks, gaining experience of wide variety of vessels. In 2019, he achieved the pass of distinction MEA work-based learning studies, maritime accidents investigation from Middlesex University, London, and he was elected a fellow of the Nautical Institute in the same year. Following on from his research degree, André wrote the book Mentoring at Sea, the 10 Minutes Challenge, which was published by the Nautical Institute in December 2012 and in October 2013. He was awarded the British Merchant Navy Medal for service to the maritime industry and the Nautical Institute. In July 2022, he was elected president of the Nautical Institute. André and his wife live in Florida, USA, and they have 3 adult children, all settled in various parts of the USA. Thank you very much. Captain, you have the floor.
Very good. Bom dia. Buenos dias. Bonjour. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here in Lisbon, and thank you to the Iberian branch for inviting me to address you this morning, and for making my wife and I so very welcome as we celebrate the Nautical Institute's 50th anniversary. What a tremendous achievement, and I commend you all for your significant contributions you have made to our Institute's success to date. Given the maritime significance of Portugal and my over 40 years of shipping, it's somewhat surprising that this is my very first visit, so better late than never. So many people have told us what a beautiful country this is, and from what we've seen to date, they're not wrong. The theme of today's conference is Over the Horizon. What challenges do the future hold, and who will lead us through them? Throughout the day, we'll be discussing 4 themes that are relevant to the future of the development of today's merchant navy. The rule makers, the developers of solutions for compliance, monitoring and control, training and commercial. I'd like to take this time to set the scene, to give you a few thoughts to start us off, not just as the president, but as a seafarer. Now I can see your reaction from here, especially the cadets we've got in the room. Here's another grey-haired old man come here to talk about how it was in the good old days. You're wrong. I'm going to talk to you as a seafarer who has one of the most exciting seagoing jobs in the current industry. This is what I do for a living. So I'm on board the ship here on the right-hand side of the blue deck, and we're approaching another tanker. There we go. Absolutely awesome job that I get to do, and they pay me for it. I work month on, month off, and during a regular month's watch, I can board somewhere between 9 and 15 vessels. So I'm pretty current within the maritime industry. So moving on to the conference this morning then, who are the rule makers? Of course, we all know about IMO and the global maritime directives that come from there. We're talking about SOLAS, MARPOL, and STCW, just to name a few. For us seafarers, it rather depends where you are in the world. For myself, it's the UK MCA, because they administer my certificate of competency. The United States Coast Guard, because most of the work I do is in the Gulf of Mexico. I do an awful lot of work there. And there we come under the CFI regulations, the Code of Federal Regulations for the US. But I also do a lot of work in Brazil. And there we come under the Brazilian Navy regulations. And then what about monitoring and control of the vessel and its operator? Well, on board, it's also flag state, class, P&I, port state, vetting, company auditors. Indeed, the list goes on and on. Who's going to monitor the ship and ensuring that everything's done correctly? And this can become a real problem for our vessels and onboard staff. Let me give you a personal example of this from a number of years back when I was a marine consultant and conducting a P&I survey, condition survey, in a port in Texas, in the USA. The vessel was a Suezmax tanker, which she is, and was alongside discharging a cargo of crude oil at a really high discharge rate. I boarded the vessel to do my P&I survey early in the morning, along with the US Coast Guard, who were conducting a port state control inspection. Class were also there, and they were doing several ongoing survey items, and a company was doing an annual lifeboat inspection, all at the same time. In total, 4 surveys going on that morning. I pleaded with the master, send me home, tell me to go, and I'll leave you alone, as I knew there was going to be too much going on, but he refused, as the vessel was on a regular run to Africa, and this was the only port where the surveys could be done. But he told me he, the master, was going to be with the Coast Guard, the chief officer was fully engaged with the cargo, the chief engineer and second engineer with the class surveyor, and the third officer was looking after the lifeboats. So the only officer available to me was the second officer, but he'd just joined the ship and knew nothing about it. I told the captain, that's no problem for me. By the end of the day, he's going to know an awful lot about his ship. So off we went. Well, let's cut a long story short. During my survey, I went into the cargo control room, just as the pumpman called up on the radio to say he was heading into the pump room and would call again when he came out. He didn't get a reply, as there was nobody in the CCR, although the cargo was still being worked at full rate. I eventually found out, when I found somebody, the third officer had a problem at the lifeboats and the chief officer had gone to sort it out. A potentially deadly situation, and one that led to a major deficiency in my survey, but also really unnecessary. Well, what about on board? We have the ISM and SMS systems to keep us straight. Now, don't get me wrong. I have an overall positive view of the ISM requirements and regulations, brought into force following the Herald of Free Enterprise disaster, which I'm sure many of you remember. We've seen a significant reduction in accidents since its implementation in the 90s. But we've also seen a substantial increase in the amount of paperwork on board. And many masters tell me that they spend between 10 and 12 hours a day on office administration, leaving little time for anything else. And that's certainly my experience when I'm on board piloting these vessels. But I've also witnessed a major change in priorities over the last few years, where the focus can be primarily on keeping paperwork up to date, rather than looking after the job in hand. As we look to the future and what seems to be the ever-increasing pressures on the senior onboard management, we also need to look at ways to assist the staff. Online surveys and inspections have become far more frequent during COVID. But how many shipping companies have increased the bandwidth on board to accommodate this new style of surveying? No, not many in my experience. As we try to identify future challenges, I often contemplate what skills we should be passing on to our younger seafarers so they're fully prepared to take over from us. Let's be honest, we have very little idea what the future vessel is going to look like. But then, hasn't every generation of seafarers been the same? I think you might recognize that one. All right, okay, not that one. Look, let me take you back to my very first vessel. This is a small cargo and passenger ship running between two of the smaller Channel Islands where I was born and grew up. It was under the command of a strict and principled Irishman who, as a boy, ran away to sea sometime before the Second World War. He taught me basic seamanship, ship handling, meteorology, and many other skills that I still use today. I'm far more qualified academically than he ever was. He, along with many other mentors, gave me that strong foundation of knowledge that I continue to build on today. So, fast forward just to a few weeks ago. I was on board and maneuvering this vessel, one of the world's largest DP2 Suezmax shuttle tankers, 282 meters in length and capable of maneuvering and maintaining position without any external help to within 1 meter. There is no way that my first captain of that small cargo ship could ever have envisaged a vessel like that. Yet he gave me that strong foundation of knowledge that I was able to build on so that I can. I've taken basic navigation skills that I learned from a young age and mixed them with the most modern technology available today. Evidenced by this, I suggest we need to pass on the skills that we have now to our next generation of seafarers. Just as I have done, they'll be able to adapt it and mix it with their latest technology on their vessels and successfully navigate into their future. As with all conferences associated with our 50th celebrations, we're going to look at the training of seafarers and how they ensure they develop adequate skills to be leaders in tomorrow's merchant navy. Our leaders of tomorrow. Well, those leaders, they're here with us today, on our ships, in our offices, in our schools, and in our homes. But for them to be successful leaders, we must give them the opportunity to learn to lead by gaining a sufficient foundation of experiential knowledge. We must support and give every opportunity to these younger career professionals, especially the cadets who are trying to get relevant sea time to enable them to become competent watchkeeping officers. I believe this is one of the greatest challenges we face in the maritime industry. Globally, we have so many cadets who are trying to find a berth on a vessel, but are unable to do so. Or even worse, they're paying agents substantial amounts of money to get them on a ship. Many cadets from all over the world contact me and other members of the Nautical Institute to help them find a berth on a ship, having successfully completed their time at university. To date, I've been able to help most of them. During my presidency, I want to change this situation. I want to work with you to develop ideas that ensure that every cadet that wants to go to sea can sail. And it's so important that we recognize that the needs, the priorities, and the expectations of the next generation are different. What was considered acceptable in the 1980s when many of us started our careers is totally unacceptable today. It's us, the industry members, that must change to accommodate those needs. If we can't, then perhaps it's time we move on. We must look toward the challenges of a greener future. And I'm minded of the words of the UK's MCA in a recent Seaways supplement. Climate change is one of the most serious environmental challenges we face. If anyone is in any doubt about climate change, I respectfully suggest you ask a seafarer. There's certainly no doubt in this one's mind. It's great to see that a significant number of the world's leading shipping companies, including some here in Europe, have engaged with the need to change and are heading in the right direction with greener ships. These are highly sophisticated ships at the cutting edge of technology and require the best onboard operators to sail them and to manage them ashore. Where are these highly trained career professionals going to come from? Well, if you want the very best, I suggest you train them yourselves. What better way is there to guarantee the highest quality of staff than by you training them? To those builders of the new ships, those operators, you've committed millions of dollars to build these ships, and you've committed to help the environment by reducing your carbon footprint. I'm asking you to commit a further small amount in comparison to the future seafarer by putting at least 2 cadets on board every one of these new vessels. These cadets are the future leaders who will be in charge of these vessels within the lifetime of the ship. They'll be the captains, the chief engineers, or in the office as superintendent, management, or CEO. So I ask you, as we contemplate the exciting future of shipping, reflect on how you've got here and who has helped you on your way. Please take a few minutes to share the vast knowledge you have with one of those that are following you and will soon be taking over. And to our younger career professionals, especially in the room today, speak up and tell us what you need. We are not psychic. You need to tell us as much as we need to listen. We're a team, and neither can function without the other. I regularly remind my crews prior to berthing a tanker that I cannot do this alone. I need them as much as they need me. None of what I've spoken about can be achieved by one person, but we're over 7,600 members, and together we can continue to achieve great things as we've done in the last 50 years. I'm sorry, that's gone off. Excuse me. As a wise friend once told me, Andre, no matter where you are in life or in your career, this is our time to make a difference. I challenge you to join me in using our time constructively to make that important difference for the next generation of maritime career professionals. Obrigado, gracias, thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Miguel. So next speaker will be our keynote, Dr. Mário Ferreira. A month ago, he went to space, being the first Portuguese to carry out a space tourism, and today he's here with us. Thank you very much. Dr. Mário Ferreira is a Portuguese entrepreneur, investor, and president of Pluris Investment Group, which includes more than 40 companies spanning tourism, media, TV and radio, real estate, insurance, and renewable energy. Mário founded Pluris 30 years ago. The company initially started as a small river cruise company in Portugal and has since expanded to Europe and internationality with the ocean expedition cruise focus on Antarctica and Arctica. Mário is also the president of the largest shareholder of Media Capital, which owns several cable and public TV channels in Portugal, including TVI, CNN Portugal. The Media Group also includes the largest producer of TV films and miniseries in Portugal and has won 2 Emmy Awards. He is also one of the primary investors in the Portuguese version of Shark Tank and passionate about mentoring young entrepreneurs. Mário is a passionate adventurer. In 2007, he raced the world's most difficult car rally, the Dakar, ran the London Marathon in 2010, and plays multiple sports like ski, scuba diving, running, etc. He's been a scuba diver since he has 20. Mário holds a degree in tourism business management and a postgraduate degree in advanced management for top managers in IASA University of Navarra, Spain. He is also a 2005 graduate of the National Defense Auditors course. Mario is curator of the Luz America Development Foundation and was decorated by the President of Portugal with the title of Commander in 2003. He's married to Paula Ferreira, and he has 4 children. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. I would like to thank the Nautical Institute for inviting me, of course, but also to congratulate you all for the 50th anniversary of this so interesting institute. And of course, a lot of the things Captain Lloyd just said here, we concur totally with you. And as a ship owners, we need a lot of your ideas to be implemented. And I would like to say that in Portugal, in all our new ships, we have several cadets all the time. So if not, we have Captain Hugo here. We can complain to him and see what is he doing about it. But definitely, we have a protocol with our school here, and we invest a lot in the cadets, and I fully agree they are the future. And of course, we need them. Well, today, and since a lot of you, and also as you said, for the first time that you came to Portugal, what I can do is to show a little bit what we do over here and thank the Nautical Institute to give us the opportunity to show of what a small company started almost 30 years ago. It will be 30 years in April next year, that started in a river cruise business, and then we decided to move on to more sophisticated ships and into the ocean. In here, you see the entire brand of what we do, from the river vessels to the expedition vessels, which are small luxury vessels that I will describe further along, and the class ocean that is 1,200 passengers that we also operate. It's a very simple structure. We have a company, as I mentioned, that started here in '93 in the rivers. And at one point, we decided to go to the rivers in Europe by acquiring a very large company that was larger than ours here in Portugal. And then from there, we decided to go to expeditions, and from expeditions into what we call ocean, even though expeditions are ocean, but we call it step by step due to the size of the vessels. We have offices in the United States and Germany are the largest ones, but the operations are based here in Portugal. In our office in Porto, we have managers coming from all over the world, from Austria, Germany, West, even Australia. So the known brand in here in Portugal, even for some of the Portuguese, this will come as a surprise. Douro Azul is the known brand, is the brand we started, like I said, 30 years ago. Then we have Mystic Cruises, we have Mystic Ocean, Nico, which is a German brand, and Atlas, which is based in Florida. We have an office in Fort Lauderdale. And Atlas was a brand launched into American market, very high-end, where we charge $1,000 per person per night to go to difficult parts of the world, like Antarctica or the Arctic. So we navigate very difficult and sensitive waters. I'm gonna try to move on since I realized we started a little late. So you can see the colors, these red colors are the countries where we operate river cruising, and the blue is the places where we operate the expedition vessels, or we go to. In terms of attractions for the expedition vessels, like I said, Antarctic in the summer, Arctic in the summer, and to go into difficult and small ports that have either history or something very interesting to see. We try to avoid, of course, we don't compete with the large vessels. We go into a more either history or other available interests in certain other ports. We have a very wide distribution network. So these are the partners we have around the world, most of these for 28, 30 years, that help us distribute the occupancy and the amount of beds that we have. Because this also comes as a surprise for a lot of our fellows in Portugal. We are probably in Portugal, the largest hotel operator on water, because we have about 7,000 beds. It's quite a large amount of beds that we have available, and all very different, because operating a ship in Antarctica, it's definitely very, very different than operating a ship in other parts of the world. And you mentioned here something regarding the bandwidth and the difficulty of some of the vessels to be able to have video chats. That was a very large challenge that we had when we started to build our vessels here in Portugal. And I can assure you that on ours, you don't have that problem. But it comes with a cost and also with technology, because a small vessel as ours, you will see in the pictures, and if you look closer lately, you will see that we have 4 gigantic satellites to be able to get bandwidth down, especially in Antarctica or in the Arctic. Especially the poles are very difficult to get communications, but we do get it. And primarily they were designed so that our customers are happy, sending WhatsApps and Instagram pictures to their children at home. But we open the entire bandwidth from certain hours free to the entire crew, so they can make video calls to their family wherever they are in the world. That goes from Portugal to the Philippines and to Indonesia and everywhere else in the world. Sustainability and development of sustainability, it's been, as you also mentioned on your presentation, the importance of it. It's been a huge challenge for us. And starting by the river cruises, we gained a lot of experience, because it was easier to experiment on the small vessels than, of course, would be to do it right away on the larger one. So we were the first ones in the world to have a ship, even though it was 80 meters, 65 cabins, fully covered with LED lights. By then, when I did that, they said, this guy's crazy, it's impossible, because LED lights were very, very expensive. At the same time, we had also 150 square meter solar panel on these. So we were able, with LED lights and solar panels, we were able to produce enough energy, at least for the lights. Of course, in the vessel, the solar panels don't contribute much for the galley, will not be enough. But for LED lights, was enough. So it was a good innovation, and today you don't see a ship that wants to use any different lights than LED lights. But this was many years ago, so we were the first ones. In terms of other technologies, we worry, of course, about the latest engines and the newer engines. We never, in any of our vessels, burned heavy fuels. We always went with the latest technology and latest generators in terms of marine diesel. Never used heavy fuels. On the 2 last river vessels we have built, we used also HVO, and we have a project now to have the first fully electric ship with batteries and hydrogen. So let's see if we can build the next 2 without diesel. That's our challenge, and I hope we can have it between 23 and 24, maybe one for 23, one for 24, already operating in Portugal. Right now, also with the list that you mentioned there are certain players within the list that you were mentioned that need to give us some approvals, mainly to the pressure bars we need to use and some of the piping to use hydrogen for our engines. So we are close to have those permissions, and if we have those permissions, we will be building once again, trying it on a river vessel, which is easier, and then thinking to bring this into the expedition vessel. So we'll continue to work with the professors to see if we can move to the next step. Well, ending the part of the river cruising, we were able to develop a ship, 126 meters, ice class, to be able to maneuver and enter into all the small ports, be able to navigate on ice up to 1 meter thick, and also to have a DP, a dynamic position developed by Rolls-Royce that can keep us in the same place to do our tender service. Our Zodiac service is very fast without dropping anchor, especially on these very sensitive areas that you don't want to mess up the bottom. So we finished this month the 4th. So the number 4 is ready. The Traveler will be delivered next week. And the 5th, which is the World Seeker, is on the way and actually very advanced as well. This is the main characteristics of the vessel, designed and fully constructed here in Portugal, of course, with a engine technology that was developed by us, our engineers, some of them are here in the room, and Rolls-Royce. In terms of design and efficiency, it was very important that we had a perfect hull. For that, we had to go outside of Portugal. We have no proper tank test to do this here in Portugal. It doesn't matter how many computer modules you can do. It's important to test these in the rough waters and in different situations. You can see on your left, this was a simulation of a 12-meter wave. And on a simulation of the 12-meter wave, I was there in the tank. We decided we had to make some changes to the bow and to the structure of the bow and the design, which actually made the ship even prettier as it is today. So we have a full covered bow where clients can go now and use it. And it even has heated seats. So when they sit down, there will be no snow on the bench. So, and it came because of this wave, because initially the bow was open. So now it's covered. And the efficiency of this hull allows us that we have very low fuel consumption, between 15 and 16 knots. And it makes it not only for the cost, especially now that the fuel is 3 times more expensive than it was when we did these tests, it's good for the environment. The system, it's very complex, but at the same time very simple. It gives us many options, power in, power out for the ones that are engineers. That is very easy to see what is PTO, PTI, and the multiple combinations we can do among the motors and generators that we can do. And we are also prepared in the future, if we want to operate fully electric with battery packs, we can do it. We have the space. It's just a matter that the batteries get less heavy and less expensive as well, and they can take more capacity. Because apart from this, then we have also an innovation on these vessels, which is pump jets. So we can use the pump jets, electrical pump jets, just to go on a fjord, for example, fully electric with the pump jets and no propellers, no other thing. And we use also the pump jets to stay on the dynamic position. And of course, all of these, it's important because we go to these sensitive areas and we like to be nice and quiet, you know, when you see all the penguins enjoying the view of our vessels. Another very important part, it's of course all that regards to systems that treat water systems, sewer systems. As you know, nothing can be discharged on the lower parallels down to Antarctica, even treated. We have to maintain everything on board and treat everything on board. So in terms of waste management, we have a sophisticated waste management system. We have also thing that gave us a lot of trouble to install, which was first time that they tested on our ship was called a MAG. Instead of a regular incinerator, we have what is called now a gasifier. The thing goes so hot that leaves a very small amount of particles, and it actually burns everything, and the heat is used to heat the water. Going to the ocean, what we call it Mystic Ocean, we acquired this vessel, the Vasco da Gama, and we decided to give it another 20 years of hope and life because it was in a very good shape. This vessel can take up to 1,400 people. We use it for around 1,000. We don't use the interior cabins, but the capacity is actually 1,400 and it has almost 56,000 tons. But we did an extensive work. And the most interesting was done by an engineer that if he's not here, he should be because he's talking in at a later time. And he digitalized, scanned the interior of the funnel and the vessel to find a way to design a customized catalyzer for our engines. And it was a risk, we must admit, because it was nothing that we buy out of the shelf. But with his knowledge and believing on the technology he was designing and custom made, we did the test and the Norwegians came down to make the measurements, and we complied with all the needed reductions and even better. So we have now a ship that can go into all the fjords. It's been all this season in the Norwegian fjords and all these sensitive areas where you need to be at least tier 3 or better. And this fortunately was designed with a local company. First time he did it, but I think now he's selling this technology already to others. But we can see that we gave a new life to a great ship that was beautiful in the interior, but he needed to comply with this, not only on the reduction of CO2, NOx, but also we included a new sewage treatment, very sophisticated new sewage treatment, so we could also navigate in the Baltic and other sensitive areas. Almost finishing. For some of you that come first time to Portugal, also it's good to say that we are now able to build smaller vessels, high-tech small vessels in Portugal. We also very proud, and that's why we talk about this, because we feel that we gave a new life to this particular yard in Portugal. And I'm proud to say, if we didn't invest and our engineers wouldn't help them, they probably wouldn't be where they are today. And it's good because we are the #1 client right now. Portuguese Navy is the second largest client, but we hope that in the near future other largest clients will show up and that Portugal did not lose what he had in the past, which was the capacity to build incredible small ships as the first one you show that could go from here to India. Okay. We go now to India, but in a more comfortable, stabilized way. These are all the ships we have built over here. And this is the interior, but in terms of economical contributor, of course, that the industry gains with this, job creation and opportunity to all the cadets that we have in Portugal. I think they don't suffer too much in finding a position because as I last visit I had to the school here, you could see that all of them had opportunities with us, with MSC and other companies that they are looking for those cadets. But definitely we give them a priority because we are close by and we know the quality of their professors and the quality of their courses. So regional products and also the promotion that we do of our country abroad. In terms of sustainability, these vessels and the ones that we use, especially on the poles, we decided since the first day that there were no plastics, no single-use plastics on board. We produce fantastic water. Then we have these great water machines that can do sparkling water and mineral water, because from the desalination, we can also make mineral water with these fantastic filters that can mineralize the water. So we have these machines and people get in the room an aluminum bottle that they take home with our logo. They go to the water stations and no plastic on board. And that has been working very, very good. Energy efficiency, we talked about, it started since we built the ship. The hybrid propulsion system, also very important, and reduce and reuse and recycle waste. Not having this type of plastics also makes our life a lot easier. So this is what we do in Portugal, and we thank you once again, congratulate you on the anniversary of the 50-year anniversary, and if you have any questions for along, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marco Ferreira, and congratulations. No, it's okay. We're in time. So we will proceed to the section 1, the rulemakers. We will change the final here, and Captain John Lloyd will moderate the final.
Just a few remarks. Unfortunately, I've got to leave. I cannot follow your discussions. But from our society, it's the Admiral Henrique de Fonseca is the head of our Supreme Council that meets in this room, side to side with this noble saloon, and Captain Monteiro Marcos is involved in the organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Oh, I don't know any of that. Absolutely superb scene setting where we've looked at the role, the historical role of seafaring. We've looked at peeking around the corner with the investment and the commitment made from the cruise sector. So thank you very much for that. And you know, the Nautical Institute offers some specialist qualifications in those areas, including dynamic positioning and qualifications for ice navigators. So it's a small contribution that we make to this particular sector. But we're going to grow the conversation, we're going to expand the conversation and bring together key components of the maritime supply chain, including maritime administration expertise from Portugal and Spain, and leaders from class and the P&I sectors as well. We have an outstanding panel who are renowned not only for their technical expertise, but also their timekeeping. So thank you for that. And we're going to go straight into the technical content, and it's a great pleasure to be able to welcome Engineer Paulo Pamplona from the Portuguese Marine Administration, who has a profound maritime pedigree, including professional seagoing qualifications, and using his technical experience to lead critical aspects of the flag state, and is currently the Director for the Maritime Administration Services in Portugal. A warm welcome to you. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Good morning to all. Thank you for the invitation. Congratulations on the anniversary. On behalf of the Ministry of Sea and Economy, Secretary of State and my Director General, that did not attend because there's a lesson agenda. So I'm here to try to give an overview of the Portuguese Maritime Administration. We have to start with today and what we think are the next challenges and we are implement to help with the growth of our fleet and for the training of our seafarers. So I would call it the presentation. I gave it. I've been it before the idea is because we are it's an ongoing process. We call it in Portuguese Maritime Administration because we are trying to make it less paper to try to have the owners in the process and for the needs to be more less paper and swifter processes in order to meet the expectations of the owners and the system. So, my presentation will be more or less divided in three points. It's the growth, the development that we have put in force in order to turn it on a bill, a good administration for so, to give you an idea of the development situation, we have around 100,000 vessels, and of those, 750 are more than convention vessels like Sullivan, Michael, and the Sullivan seagoing vessels. On the seafarers and the small crafts, recreational crafts, we have around 50,000 and Nautical yachtmen, 90,000, we have 5 and for recreational crafts, we have 35. try to develop and to use certificate with regional class. Regarding the reports on port facilities, we have 12 ports and 63 port facilities. They are all ISPS compliant, so we are to meet with the new regulations for activity, regulations for the directive and qualified compliance with the ISPS. To say this is about this vessel and our universe and our aim and our targets and our etc. We have signed agreements with ROs and we have the last made with the Climate Society. We have 8 ROs, obviously. And we have tried to implement online services like we call it DMAR, which is an online service platform that the shipowners and the seafarers can apply either for the recognition of the certification, either for services regarding the vessels and queries that arise from the operation of the vessels. At the moment, according to our rating, just to say, Portugal is flying 5.5 of it's figure from 2021, but we are keeping and increasing the rating. As a flag, we are at the moment this survey was made because Portugal was the fifth European flag. So the idea is that having the criteria of class and the rating of panoramics of the companies with the status and the flag and the performance of the status and so on. And the idea is to try to keep that and to increase and to develop tools to have a single flag and that's why our own yes, we intend to do in the future. So I will focus yes, according to our last assessment that we made to IHS, we have conventional fleet and now rated in the area. The vessels, we have around 750. This rated was 731, but now at the day, it's increasing fleet. We have around 750 vessels. And from the conventional versions 3, that includes taking into account the criteria established by IMO and IHS at the fleet assessment and even for the fees that we have to take under. We have 240 vessels on conventional registry and the very registry around 750 and the other. What we have developed in order to go, as the title of my presentation, for the EU administration, we have started issuing for the 2 members, the 2 and 36, electronic certification that can be check the validity and the veracity through a platform that we developed, which is the Portuguese control, which has a certificate has a PIR code, and in order to reduce the population of this and that, all over the world, sometimes making parts of work can be maybe difficult, but it can be checked and unloaded by the master, but having the KR code, it's an electronic certificate. You can be checked by the authorities through a scan of the KR. It goes directly to the Portuguese port control platform, which indicates the validity and capacity of the certificate, either for the vessel the certification, either for the crew and then our big clients, let's say, without prejudice to the conventional registry, which is very we are very keen and we appreciate their commitment to stay in the conventional. Because of the growth, because of the trading area, because we have created a new technical support group to answer the needs of the flag and the shipowners. They are all over the world, and there are situations that arise every day, and we need to support them as that state in order for them to run out of the transport control or port authorities to comply with that convention. And requirements either to you either international or conventional level or not only in EU regulations. So in the Madeira, that's going back to the digitalization to the paperwork, we have e-books. Before the books were used to be signed and be open and closed, and every page has to be signed. Nowadays, everything you can see. Nowadays, it's not real. It's foreseen, has been foreseen, and we have adopted. So the improvement for the vessels is to have the logbooks in a e-form. We have updated according to the new rules and the new opportunity that will be my parliament. We have all the record books related to my call that we in e-format to ourselves. That's it. We're authorized to those in a format. So one of the key development and one of the keys that we try to implement in our schools. So it's national Portuguese that are not mandatory. We have the law that it has been, that we have been new instruments in order to allow when aligning with the conventions, we have done so, and this has been done for us to give good development and has helped the managing companies to get the development of the vessels without having to ship to goods by mail or by postal. On the paperwork, this is what we have done. We are thinking more solutions in order. We are open, and that's the idea. The shipping sector. We are trying to have a new policy, an open policy that we did not. We're not close, but we are moving to and the visibility. We are trying to the new tools and new management. We try to have a better approach towards the sector, listen to their needs and try to adapt it and then work on the possibilities of their states and duties and obligations to their expectations or to meet their expectations. One of the key issues that we also consider that are very important is because of the risk of the trading areas and the risk of the piracy. The Portuguese government, we have approved a law allowing private security companies to guard our vessels while cruising high risk areas and even into very risk areas. Every time by was a good challenge. It was a good protection of the seafarers, the goods, and the that has been achieved very, 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 very effective, and we are glad to try to provide this to our consumers in order for them to safely and securely sail for the trading areas. Circulars have been published. It's an ongoing process. It's our policies and our ideas to better inform, better develop guidelines to keep the requirements and update it and open to questions, try to develop we can ask questions on our website. Our website nowadays populated with news and especially depending on the new development of the group and the what are important to the sector. So that's one of the our key and our concerns. So as I told you, we have signed agreements with the 8 major recognized organizations, which it comes. We have increased. We have last two with the Korean and China Constitution. Of course, one of the last two, they wanted to bring their food. We were concerned there because the vessels come, more agreements, more delegation, so when we delegate, we have to monitor, so it was, but even so, to meet the expectations of the companies, we allowed the Korean and China to bring good vessels to our fleet. They are all EU recognized, they are all IAX members, so in our opinion, we are well represented and well delegated, and our tasks are well taken care of. So we have developed an online service for the ROs. So the ROs can enter the BIMA platform that we developed for the fair, and they nowadays it's not a conventional way. You can submit through the internet. You go, you log in, and then you submit your request, and then you will be answered by the flag in a more swift way without those public institutions oppression type of work or procedures that sits on the vessels. We have a lot of situations. It's regarding to either from piracy plans, certification, vessels with med requirements like that's based on the crew member side. We have the recognitions because a lot of our vessels are crewed and manned with the foreign seafarers. So we have an expedite and swift process, and that has been one of the first step on this digitalization. So it has been one of the last few tasks and grand achievements on this platform. So the next steps, what we intend to do is to keep on this, develop, go against your expectations, and mainly nowadays we are call to have a tender to reinforce our human resources, our
technical expertise and our technical staff in order to meet the expectations to do and to develop all those tools, the circulars, instructions, and that's our main goal. Accordingly, that's the idea of the strategy. We have nowadays, being navigations, we have the line certificate that's an issue already, and now it's on consultation, and when we publish the ventures materials for inland navigation, so the ADN, technical for small commercial vessels. We have the ROs, and we are using the codes and the codes from MCA from England, and to codes of our actions of our Portuguese law. We are trying to, and we'll try to develop into rules and align and put it in our internal law in order to fill this gap that nowadays is still sustained by our situations, society rules, so the new challenge, it's regarding the position of sustainability and environmental. Nowadays, we are trying to develop everyone knows, we know that in the beginning of the year, we will have to meet the requirements for minor on sustainability, taking into account the IMO strategy and the greenhouse gases. We have also from the EU, the 54-55 tech. So the idea will be, we are developing, we try to have task force together with you, to try to present and help you on getting the solutions to comply with the new requirements from our Forum 6, namely the CII and the EXI from the lead, and for the fuel maritime, that the new rules that will come into force on 23 and 24, and to try to help you to achieve the goals of 2030 and 2050 on the sustainability. So the idea is we are here, we have to, we are here for you and to try to serve you and to support you.
Thank you, Engineer Pamplona. We will take questions at the end, so thank you for your patience for the moment. Our next speaker also brings expertise from a maritime administration and has made a number of outstanding contributions to the sector. In 2007, he was awarded the Medal as Knight of the Lion Order from Senegal for his role in saving over 25,000 immigrants in the Tenerife crisis of 2006. He is an IMO Goodwill Maritime Ambassador and is here today in his capacity as technical advisor on safety and the environment in the Directorate of the Merchant Marine in Spain. Please welcome Captain Antonio Padron y Santiago.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you to the Nautical President for the invitation to be here today. For me, a very important day because I see here many friends for the position. I will speak about the recruitment process of young seafarers. And I will explain how I arrived to work on this question. Somebody informed me, the president of the Nautical Institute, to speak something about the cadets. I think we must put many attention to these seafarers.
To start, in words of Arthur Clarke, how inappropriate is to call this planet Earth when it is evident that it shall be called ocean. Everybody knows, or many of you can know these words. The oceans constitute 71% of our planet and includes the largest biomass of the Earth. There are more living beings on the water than ashore. But we know more from the Mars planet than our oceans. We know very little of our marine environment. More than 80% of global trade is carried by sea, more than 75,000 ships, merchant ships of international navigation, more than 2 million of seafarers, and more than 20 million of indirect employments. Our industry is an industry in permanent growth. You can see here the places of the 38 and COVID include, but the necessity of maritime transportation is growing permanently and must grow because everybody on the planet must have at least food and clothes. One of our problems is that the maritime industry is not well known by the public, the society in general. And we need to change something inside in order to give a perception of more quality. We think on planes, we think on quality, high quality transportation, but it's not the same message. We must work on that. The maritime industry offers a great number of professional opportunities for young people, both on ships and offshore. In one of the groups of the International Standard Organization, we finished the works this year with a new standard with all the possibilities that the seafarers have for working ashore. It's in this way, Many seafarers are, after the period at sea, go to work ashore. The fleet is increasing rapidly with more and very sophisticated ships, but the availability of seafarers is limited, very limited. More than 500,000 officers are working in vessels of international navigation. If we speak about others, we are speaking about with these numbers of 50,000 ships, but in general, international trade are more than 200,000. In 2030, around 750,000 officers, we speak about officers only, will be needed. Having in mind retirements, changes of jobs, many of them go ashore, about another 500,000 officers will be needed from now. This is to say we need to graduate in the world about 60,000-70,000 officers per year, and we are not reaching this quantity. This is a part of the evolution of the supply and demand of officers. You can see that the position is that in 2025 we will have a deficit of officers of about 150. There is IMO start to work on a program of IMO Goodwill Maritime Ambassadors. And the Spanish government proposed to me for this designation. Since I am IMO Maritime Ambassador since 2015. Who is a maritime ambassador? It's like a spokesman or advocate of the maritime and seafaring profession. Maritime ambassadors may be designated by the IMO member states and by the other organizations who have status of collaboration with IMO. For example, the Nautical Institute, they have several maritime ambassadors around the world. What does an IMO maritime ambassador? Must share their passion about the maritime world with others, mainly with the younger people. The target is to engage and inspire young people to consider careers at sea or inside or related with the maritime sector, maybe naval engineering, maybe maritime economics, maritime law, etc. When I was designated, this is a very beautiful task, work with the young people, but I don't want to be a pot of flowers. And I say I must work on something real, with the real people. Then, as you know, to reach the professional qualification, according to the STCW Convention, the seafarers must spend 1 year on a ship as cadet, 12 months. The students today have many difficulties to reach a berth on the ships. I was very impressed with the words of my predecessor in Portugal. Maybe you are very lucky with the situation, maybe. But international trade is very, very difficult. I create a program. I start with the Spanish boys and girls, students. I started in Spain, of course, in my country, and I know many of these cadets. And after that, when I was working, I remember that one cadet from Peru called me, the facility of the language, in Spanish. He called me, Captain, I see that you are helping two students. Yeah. Can you help me? Where are you from? From Peru. Oh, I don't know nobody there. But I think if I call to a company, I say I am I'm a maritime ambassador. They open the door. I make that. I call to the first company that I call, and they take this cadet. Today is chief engineer. Some years ago. But today we have many others from many other countries, inclusive I have 4 from Portugal, 4 cadets in my list. I have 413 Spanish cadets waiting for a ship. Many of them 4 and 5 years waiting. Many of them are working on supermarkets, are working on Decathlon, and things like that. The curriculum of these future captains is this, in this moment. 413. About 3 exactly from yesterday. 368 cadets from other 20 different countries, mainly of the Spanish language. Total, in my list, I have near 800 cadets waiting for a ship. And we are explaining, all the statistics say that we need seafarers. Okay, I have 800, but they don't have ship. During these years, we embarked about 369 from different countries. But we must working on this item. We have cadets, but they don't have ship. Here is, I am not alone, of course. It's a very hard work. I have 156 collaborating entities who have been joining to this program, universities, ship owners, operators, maritime companies, mining agents, ship agents, harbor pilots. One of them is here with me from the years when I was harbor master of Tenerife. These are some programs, some shipping ships, training ships from the north of Europe, Sweden, Finland, and Norway, who come to Canary Island every year in winter. They take our students too. Here are some pictures of some of the cadets. About this problem, the European Union said in 2018 that in relation with the students, maritime students, must be a writing agreement. Okay. Must receive some pay or some kind of compensation. Very well. And must have the right to social protection. And provide to the student with a professional guidance and tutoring. Okay. But we are worse than 37 years ago. This is me, 37 years ago. The first conclusion of this seminar is, or maybe, please go to the gym every day, because you can change something like that. In 1985, ship owners and operators were enforced to take cadets on board. If you were a cadet and go to a harbor, a port, and see a ship without cadet, you go to the harbor master, this ship has not cadet on board. Okay, you compulsory on board. In 1985, there were a training contract by writing a paper, social security, travel and support expenses. I remember in these years, I received about 300 euros. It's a gratification, not many money, but you are studying, okay, but something. Today, there are many owners who comply with everything, but the majority, no contract, nothing, only a verbal proportion to the cadet. no social security. Sometimes they ask for an accident insurance on board that must be paid by the cadet. No gratification, no travel expenses, no payment of support. Some companies, I know 2 companies, that the cadet must pay for the food on board. This is the real situation after many years working on that. I think that we can make something and help these 800 students to have a berth on a ship. In Spain, after these years, 1 month ago, we have a new regulation saying that it's compulsory to have a contract. Okay, one important step with social security, of course. Or maybe accepted a writing agreement with the universities. But there is a paper, okay? And the next year, the general director said me 1 week ago that he has 1 million euros for the next year to help cadets and companies to start to embark some of these boys and girls. Can you help us, please? If you can, we are here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Captain, for that impassioned plea for action and call to arms. Absolutely critical to not only our next generation of seafarers, but as Captain Andre said earlier, our next generation of leaders. And we've seen in your slide there the importance to the whole maritime community of qualified mariners. So thank you very much indeed. And it's a great pleasure to welcome another qualified and experienced mariner who outstandingly well qualified in the maritime discipline, nautical, thank you very much, representing Bureau Veritas, one of the leading classification societies. And here to give us our insights is Captain Miguel Lopez. Thank you very much.
Good morning to everybody. Thanks very much for your invited. It is a pleasure. So I'm going to speak one item that is very important, that is the importance of the classification societies, the owner and the management shipping companies. Okay. Okay. So as you know, nowadays, somebody, if you want to build a vessel, you have to go to society classification to see which rules he have to comply. And the society's classifications nowadays, what they do, they help the owner also with new requirements that are going to be implemented in the few years. So we are to help the owners about the requirements for the new vessels, or what you want. The classification societies were created in the 19th century because there was some risk and associated with the vessels during that time, and to have the vessels covered, the societies were created to help the ship owners and to be possible to give good conditions or good vessels and good conditions also to the crews, to the crew. So the classification societies are to help the owners. They have inside of the societies experts in hull, in the engines, in the safety. There are several items and several departments very important to build a vessel and to be in order with all the requirements from IMO, from STCW, from MARPOL, and all this. Bureau Veritas for already long years have, for example, inside of the Bureau Veritas, there are a department only for passenger vessels with 60 lead surveyors that I'm part of one of these surveys, and this is very important because a passenger vessel is one vessel that have a lot of safety equipment, safety devices, safety items that are important for the passengers and for the crew. But more important is the passengers, the safety of the passengers. Okay. So there is somebody think that every society have his own rules, but each society have inside its own rules, but they are always complying with IMO and all the rest of the requirements or all the rest of the rules or MARPOL. So sometimes the owners or the shipping persons say that each society have its own rules, but it's not true. The rules are equals for everybody, not for borrow values, not DNV or something like that. So now this is very important that for the society classifications is the link. So it's the connection with the flag authorizations. So it's very important the societies know for each flag have his own also different regulations. So that is that's why the societies are recognized by the flags for each flag. It's depend, but it's like that. And nowadays, for a ship owner to have one vessel, it's very complicated to be aware of all the requisitions, requirements that are nowadays to manage a single vessel. That's why nowadays the ship owners going always to contact or to make an agreement with the ship management to companies to be possible to run or to have a vessel running with all the rules that is necessary and with all the certification that is necessary nowadays. It's very important for the owners that to have a good ship management companies so that can operate and maintain the vessel in good condition and also in the constant with all the certificate update and in order. So thanks thanks again for your invite, and thanks very much for your cooperation.
Thank you, Captain Miguel, for explaining to us the key role that the classification societies have as responsible organisations in supporting the flag administrations. And you can see itching to get to the podium. Delighted to welcome Captain John Dolan, an outstanding career in the maritime sector, including senior roles at sea and as a board member of the International Chamber of Shipping, representing Ireland. Here today in his capacity as Deputy Director of Loss Prevention at the Standard Club. Captain John, welcome.
Good morning, all. Thank you very much indeed, John, for a very kind introduction there, and very much gratitude to Mark and to Joe as well, particularly Joe for arranging a heavy downpour when I arrived in Lisbon last night. I come from Ireland where we get a lot of rain, so he made me feel right at home. Very, very briefly, just to summarize, that's who I am. I'm a career mariner, then I was a career ship manager, and I joined the Standard P&I Club in 2015. I used to be a board member of the International Chamber of Shipping as well for 6 years, so I'm fairly familiar with the kind of negotiations and disputes and debates that take place in that forum as well. So what I'd like to talk to you is about our experience as a P&I club on elisions and FFO, fixed and floating object claims, and our perspective on them. Now, I'm very conscious of the time, so 15 minutes John has given me a strict deadline, so this is going to be more like a speed dating session rather than a considered analysis of our claims history. But I hope you'll find it interesting, and what I really would like to do is to get you, all of you, to challenge me. If you disagree or you're engaged by it, please raise your hand and engage in the Q&A afterwards, particularly the younger people. So it'll be a very quick description of our own statistics, and I'm going to also introduce you to the international pool. That is the collection of P&I clubs and their statistics on this subject. And finally, I'd just very briefly describe another stream of statistics from the international group, but all relating to incidents that it cost each one over $100,000 and their experience over 20 years. And then I'll conclude very quickly after that. So before I start, does anybody recognize that picture, what it's depicting? Does anybody here recognize it? Any thoughts at all? It illustrates, and now I have to say before I answer this thing, I feel extremely nervous about showing that, because in a country that gave the world Magellan and da Gama and Bartholomew Diaz, Henry the Navigator, this is a depiction of Ernest Shackleton and 5 guys on board the vessel, the James Caird, embarking and, well, effectively concluding one of the most astonishing voyages ever undertaken in maritime history. But I put that up there because it is what it depicts from a ship manager and a mariner, and now from an insurer's perspective. Everything that we look for in a master is there. The determination, the planning, the commitment, the professionalism, the will to succeed, because that voyage from Elephant Island in the Antarctic to South Georgia in 1916 was truly a one-off, guts or glory, do or die, because if they missed South Georgia, they were going to die, and the 25 guys they left behind on Elephant Island were all going to die. So truly, this is an extraordinary voyage. But it's the sentence on top that I will that's why I draw your attention to. It is not the ship as much as the skillful voyage or skillful sailing that assures the prosperous voyage. In the P&I Club and in my experience as a ship manager, it is the crew, it is the masters, it is the crew on board a vessel that are the people who determine the success or failure of the voyage. Now, that's my keynote point in this presentation. And that's a picture of the actual boat the day they were pushing off from shore on that extraordinary voyage. So, just to put a little bit of context now on what I'm going to speak about, just general description. 1, we know the ship size has increased dramatically, included winded areas, so it makes maneuvering and control of vessels much more difficult. We know ship maneuverability at low speed has decreased. So it's even more difficult now to maneuver vessels when they're stopped or near stopped. Ship masters, we know from our experience in the P&I Club, and by the way, in the Standard Club, we have maybe 450 ship owners, and we insure about 10% of the world's fleet. So we have some experience in this area. We know the ship masters on board vessels have less opportunity to get to know the vessel because of rotation, and there are some very, very good practical reasons for that. But the downside, you guys will know, is that the experience gained can often be not necessarily ideal. Tight ship schedules, every ship owner will know the importance of sweating the assets, getting the very maximum out of it, but that creates pressure. Pressure that we know as an insurer has resulted in many casualties, and I'll describe those further. So commercial pressure is all what the business is about. That's a fact of life. And the last point, which is going to develop a little bit more towards the end of the presentation, is that the improper and inappropriate and probably, inappropriate master pilot exchanges is also a fundamental issue that will appear in my statistics here. So this is where it gets a little bit dense. The slides are busy, but bear with me. This is a slide of a rough cut through over the last 6 years of what all of the claims the Standard Club has received, and divided into a very coarse few categories here. There's cargo here, personal injury, navigation, pollution, and others. So that's a very, very broad description of it. But it is the orange sector. Like in 2015, you can see the figure there if you could read it. It's 9.5%. The next year, 2018, 9%, right across. They are the number of claims that the Standard Club has had to write since over the years up to 2021. And now the values, though, again, looking at the orange sector, despite the relatively small numbers of incidents, the costs associated are eye-watering. They are enormous. And whilst I don't have the cost in front of me on the table here, but I can tell you each of those bands represents between $50 and $60 million each year over the last 7 years, just for the Standard Club. And that money, as I'm sure you'll appreciate here, that is not our money. That is the ship owner's own money. So every cost there is paid for by the ship owners, because that's how P&I clubs work. So that tries to give you a scale both of the number and of the costs associated with the fixed and floating objects, elisions type claims. So we undertook a study in the club about 18 months ago to look at all the claims exceeding $3 million, all claims exceeding $3 million. And collisions and FFOs, 37% by number, 40% by value, and pollution are the largest categories. Navigation, 38% by number, 50% by value, and human element are the main primary causations. Back to the human element. Over half of the underlying secondary causations are human factors: collision regs, non-compliance with the collision regs, commercial pressure, master pilot exchange, negligence. They all feature very, very frequently, which in many respects is the primary explanation of why I'm here, because this is a forum where we want to raise awareness of the kind of claims records that we have. I would also add as well, there's no correlation between the claim size and a ship size. A small vessel can do an awful lot of damage in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this navigation issue is not limited to the Standard Club, my employers. Because now a quick identification of the pool claims. This is now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the international pool, but all of the P&I clubs, there are 13 of the main P&I clubs in the world, all 13 belong to the international group. And it is the reinsurer of the individual P&I clubs. So when a claim hits the international group, it has exceeded $10 million. We take the first 10 million, it then goes into the international group. And the figures there, again, a very, very busy slide, but all claims over the period 2015 to 2021, the total cost of all claims, including navigation, was $5.2 billion US. Enormous amounts of money. Huge, huge amounts of money. But from this perspective, from this presentation perspective, it is the red bar at the end here on the left-hand side I'd like you to focus on, because that is the sum total of the navigation-related claims, the collisions, the FFO, and the groundings. And that proportion is $3.45 billion US. Again, eye-watering amounts of money. So, just a few comments on about that. We looked at the larger pool claims. We had 74 claims between 2015 and 2021 on navigation related, 56% by number, 66 by value, for a total cost of 5.2 billion. Actually, that's not correct. That's the total cost completely. That figure should be 3.45. Because it's a pool claim, there is usually a dispute. $10 million is going to give a lot of ship owners lots of disputes. So it's quite common that the claim will be with different clubs will share, they'll share the ultimate cost of it, but they won't want to disclose the causation because they may well be in a legal dispute with one club to another. So the details are sketchy, but human error, poor judgment, pilot assisted, inadequate passage planning, over-reliance on electronic equipment for collision avoidance, all of those reasons feature in the pool claims causation. So now, I hope I'm building up a picture here of where we see areas for improvement, where better seamanship, better standards of training, greater competency can be of value. And now I'd like to switch over to around the area of pilots. And I hope if there's pilots in the room, this area, I would appreciate some challenge on this at the end. I chair the international group's pilotage committee. So all of the P&I clubs have representatives on this committee. I chair it. And this is an area of particular interest to us. So in 2019, the report, the picture that you see in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture there, was issued. If you have an interest in this area, I would advise you. It's free to download. Have a look at it. It's quite informative. But just some of the comments to be made about it. We know every year about 3 to 3.5 million ships are moved under pilotage. So it's an enormous number, and it's a wild guess. So it's just an order of magnitude rather than an exact calculation. 3.4 million movements. But in the period of 1999 to 2019, that 20-year period, there were 1,048 incidents where pilots were on board at the time of the claim. They may or may not have been actively involved, but pilots were on board. Just at the point when the ship masters should be most comfortable, they have a casualty. There were 1,048 incidents, each one giving rise to a claim over $100,000. So that is an average of 52 incidents per year. And the total cost of those pilots that we know of was $1.82 billion in that period, 1999 to 2019. $1.8 billion US, or on average, every week for 20 years, $1.75 million. Now, can you imagine a ship owner outside there with a fire going, and every week tipping $1.75 million into it for 20 years? That is what's happened. The figures don't lie. It's enormously expensive. And this is an area of particular interest to the marine insurers and to the international group specifically. Elisions and FFOs constituted 60% of the incidents, and by that I mean running over buoys, knocking into berths, demolishing berths, knocking over dolphins, Those are the kind of claims that would fall within this particular presentation. And I will go on from now. So what are the causes? Well, this is a very, very quick canter through, so I'm not even going to begin to describe them in detail, but I would highlight this particular book. I don't know if any of you have seen that book by Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. But if you haven't, I would really urge you, if there's one book that you should read this year, I would urge you to read that particular book. And I can tell you that the guy, Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in 2002, his influence is all over your lives. In very many ways, this guy has written the book that's influencing all our lives now. But in that book, he makes a reference to this particular phenomenon, that as humans, he's a behavioral psychologist, as humans, we are often blind to the obvious. Hey, I never saw that coming. Hey, whoa, how did that happen? We are often frequently blind to the obvious. And worse, we are not always aware that we are of our own blindness. So just two key points to all mariners here. I would urge you to bear that in mind. In the Standard Club, we receive thousands of claims a year, and we know in many, many cases, particularly the more serious ones, that those 2 points, when we investigate further, the guys and women who were in the moment, in the claim, just simply lost awareness, and they were just blind to their own blindness. And another final point I'll make there is that onboard ships, and I say this now as a ship manager, I was a career ship manager up to for 25 years, the drift of behaviors on board ship from what is acceptable and permissible to what becomes acceptable but is dangerous is very, very common. And we do see that in our claims data as well. So what are the insurers doing about this? Well, from our perspective, the Standard Club, we work quite closely with the Nautical Institute, and we're very, very happy to be involved in it. But with our members, we carry out risk assessments, usually, most often, at the request of the members, if they feel that there's a particular issue on board their fleets that they need investigating. So we have a team of master mariners who go on board and do the audits and reports accordingly. We publish books. The Guide to Berthing is one of them. This one, again, if you haven't seen it, I would urge you to download it. This is not a marketing for the Standard Club. It is just really good practice. And only 2 weeks ago, we got an email in from the senior pilots in New Zealand who had seen this book for the first time and who were really impressed with the content. So again, like Bridget said in the video about the Nautical Institute, it's written by mariners, by pilots, for pilots. So please do download it. And sorry, getting a bit ahead. And the Master Pilot Exchange, we are working quite closely with the guys in New Zealand to try and learn more about what the pilots actually do and where and how we might better develop the Master Pilot Exchange process. So pilotage, what might the future might be? Well, this is our take on where we see things might be going. I mentioned New Zealand because two things. One, they have developed this particular, they've published this practice here. It's a guide that they developed by pilots for pilots. What does a good passage plan look like from a pilot's perspective? Because the industry is obsessed with the ship side of it, of the passage planning. What does the pilot do? These pilots have produced a really interesting guide in it. But more important, they produced a second guide in November last year, which only came to our attention in the last few weeks, which I think is a really, really important document because it is effectively a guideline produced by the pilots on best practice. In other words, the training, the competency, the skills, all the things that goes around piloting and how to do it effectively. We're encouraging our members to put that on board on the bridges of every vessel so the masters can see what he should expect from a good pilot. That's the document that defines it. We would like very much to see this document into the wider industry because I think it's a really important step forward. And the last point I mentioned again is again an issue that New Zealand's guys have done, and I'm not selling their wares here, but I'm just promoting a very interesting technical development. They have effectively developed, the pilots have developed this EMPX with the Port of Auckland, where they put the information, the passage plan of the pilot onto the vessel about up to 24 hours before arrival. So when the pilot reaches the bridge, he is now confirming with the master and the bridge team, not informing them. He has already sent them the information. Any gaps or any differences discussed then, not starting from scratch. And again, we think this is such a basic, but such a fundamental, important step change in the industry. We would like it to be much more widely adopted in the industry. So concluding, we know that navigation-related claims are increasing. Year on year, the numbers fluctuate for sure, and they fluctuate wildly, but overall, we know they're increasing. We know the fleet's increasing as well, which might explain some of the increase, but not all. We have entered an era of e-navigation, for sure. The sophistication of gear now, and even Andre this morning, I'm showing his, the evolution, and my own career from very basic Decca Navigator and Loran C, and my career to the most sophisticated GPS position systems now, and this is wildly different. So it's e-navigation period now. The Master Pilot Exchange I've mentioned before is of critical importance, but it's not just the seafarer, not just you guys who control this, because we believe the pilots and port authorities have a big role to play as well. They are also very important stakeholders in this particular area. And shoreside management. The ship managers, the ship owners really have to buy into this to promote the best practice and demand best practice on board their ships. Now, in the report I mentioned to you about the international group, they made four recommendations, very broad indeed, and I won't read them all, but they're talking about enhancing training, which we all would agree with, the proper diligent exchange with the pilot, I've labeled that point a few times, the better bridge team resource management, very important. The whole point of a team is to have sharing of mental models and all driving forward. It can and must be done better. And again, back to the improved communications with the pilot, including sharing the mental model. If the pilot has a plan and the master has a plan and they're different, there is no plan. There is no plan. So two plans does not make a better plan. It's zero. And finally, we would ask, on our basis of our research, I would put in the following extra points as well. Avoid excessive speed to the berth. Now, a pilot last week told me that when he was taking vessels alongside, we're talking now Aframax tankers alongside, and maybe Andre will have a view on this, but the maximum speed of approach to a berth is 0.3 of a knot. 0.3 of a knot. That would be one step every 7 seconds. So it's very slow indeed. But speed, from our claims experience, is a big cause of excess speed of claims. Better passage planning and execution, well, that's ever present. Whenever something goes wrong, there's always an opportunity to learn from it and how it can be done better in the future. The navigational risk reviews, we see value in them from an insurer's perspective. The more eyes on a particular risk area, the better, for sure. So that's something we would encourage. But we would also encourage more vigilance during pilotage. And I'm speaking now as a former mariner. I stood on the bridge with many pilots from my cadet route through to master many times. And I know there's almost like a reflex, an automatic reaction that with the pilots on board, that we can relax now, he'll take the con and that'll be it. No, that is the period of really elevated risk. And it is vitally important that the master and the bridge team maintain focus throughout the period of the pilotage until all fast at the berth. And as we say, the shared mental model of the intended track. Two plans is asking for trouble. Asking for trouble. There has to be one plan. The master and the bridge team and the pilot all have the same understanding and make it happen. But if there's one sentence that you take away from what I said today, it's this one. And this is Captain Cahill, who was quoted in Lloyd's list many, many years ago. He says this: a superior seaman uses his superior skills to avoid the situations where his superior skills become necessary. In other words, the competent superior mariner always thinks ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. I am a little bit sensitive to the time, and just wanted to reflect very briefly on the things that we've heard from the panel today, the importance of digitalization and the flexible response from our administrations, the identification that the seafaring component is only one small aspect of the much wider maritime community, and how we've all got an obligation to commit to the future. And we've had reinforced the importance of the supporting organisations, the classification societies and the P&I clubs in creating a viable, vibrant and effective maritime community. Our speakers will be staying for coffee. I would invite you to engage with them in questions and challenges during that period, and I would invite you all to be back at a slightly realigned time of 12 o'clock, giving a chance for a coffee and a quick chat and a comfort break. Thank you for your attention and thank our speakers together very much for their contributions. Thank you.